It's hard these days to speak positively of Rockstar. While I do have my share of fond memories in every single one of their titles, from Grand Theft Auto 3 all the way through the Red Dead Redemption series, and of course Max Payne, it's unfortunate to say that Rockstar isn't the company they once were. Their intentions are not where they used to be. Their announcements are not cherished as they once were. Nope. Instead, they're gatherings, held by the company that continues to unite its fans. Just the common factor is no longer praise and celebration, but rather hate, anger, sarcasm, and disappointment. Disappointment in the name that once held the highest regard even outside of gaming. A name that continues to be shit on and ran through the mud whenever given the opportunity, mainly because they give their fans so much fuel to add to that fire. But you know what's crazy? Rockstar still has the power to turn this around if they really wanted to. And I'm going to tell you how they can do that after we discuss the mountains of shit that they've thrown at their community and longtime fans within just the last year alone. You see, there's not too many games and developers who have fell from grace quite like Rockstar has. Once pioneers in such a way that their influence and work far surpassed just the gaming space. I remember back in 2013, rumors of the systems implemented in Grand Theft Auto 5's NPCs and how traffic worked within the game was so advanced it was actually being repurposed and utilized to aid in the development of autonomous vehicles and their sensors. With the vehicles capable of detecting pedestrians, cars are able to stay within their own lanes, and they're capable of obeying traffic lights as well as stop signs. While hearing this nowadays barely bats an eye, you gotta remember that was impressive stuff in 2013. Grand Theft Auto's system was incredibly advanced for its time, with the technology of a video game being utilized to propel us as a society into the future. It was a beautiful thing. The money, resources, and technology at their fingertips have only expanded throughout the years. Yet it's unfortunate, due to greed and the expansion of their own pockets, the creative vision and the drive to propel the industry forward, with each one of the projects being staples of innovative narrative storytelling and world design. The beauty of what a Rockstar game once held was pushed to the wayside a long time ago, with each one of their trailers and announcements of a quote-unquote new project making that ever so present. That beauty and creative vision by Rockstar continues to be cannibalized by its own corporate rulers from the top down. An announcement of anything with the famous Rockstar logo once made the world go crazy over talk and excitement of what they were working on. Hell, just the teaser image of Red Dead Redemption 2 alone inspired countless videos of what that game was. Who was the protagonist? What was the story? How big was the world? What are the means of transportation, cosmetics? Is it linked to the other Red Dead Redemption? What are the extra activities, and so on? This singular image alone inspired countless of videos, recapping the first game, praising Rockstar, talking about the setting, talking about possible spoilers, things to do, places to see, the bridge from the first to the second game, the recap of the first game. All these videos are of a forgotten era, back when Rockstar actually had a soul. Or even if they didn't at the time, at least we weren't aware of it. At least we were still living in bliss, enjoying our own little worlds and the products, the impressive products that they were putting out. And then we had small glimpses of what was going on behind the scenes that kind of left a sour taste in our mouths, but ultimately Rockstar was still forgiven. However, these days Rockstar has resorted to any and every scummy practice under the sun, almost to the point where it's kind of hard to defend them these days. All it takes is a quick glance at their YouTube channel, with every single one of their trailers and announcements struggling to have a positive like to dislike ratio. On one hand, you find those that are disgruntled over not having a new Grand Theft Auto game after 10 years and 3 console generations. Some of them do have valid points. Most, however, shoot themselves in the foot by letting the typical ungrateful gamer persona crack through. They just want a new game. They just want the old Rockstar back. You know, and it's actually quite sad because the loss of everyone's good graces wasn't something that happened overnight, but a gradual series of missteps, or rather swift defining decisions that showed us all where their direction was headed in. A series of missteps that were even continuously forgiven, even when the forgiveness was not deserved. We're gonna start with the first major blunder.
Why did I move here? I guess it was the weather.
Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. This one actually has an interesting story by itself, because Rockstar played something a little sneaky by switching up tactics a little bit. So if you go back and if you look at the trailer for their first announcement for Grand Theft Auto 5 showing up on the PlayStation 5, this is funny because I didn't notice this until looking at it for this video. When they showed the trailer gameplay, at least towards the end, they used the trailer for the PlayStation 3 version. And the reason why you can tell is just look at how blocky this is. Go online and look at any PlayStation 3 footage of Grand Theft Auto 5, and it is that. In this announcement trailer, I mean, the like to dislike ratio is horrendous as well, but at this point in time, the version coming to the next generation of consoles was called Expanded and Enhanced. Obviously, there's no information on what the hell that really meant at the time. It was just, hey, you're gonna get the game for the third console generation in a row, but you're gonna be getting more shit, which hopefully was something good. I mean, if I'm allowed to say something positive here, going from the PlayStation 3 to the PlayStation 4, Grand Theft Auto 5 did get a large amount of stuff. We got the first-person perspective, we got improved AI, improved foliage, more vehicles, more weapons. Obviously, everything was completely upgraded as far as graphic fidelity went. But no matter what, the main incentive for this version of Grand Theft Auto 5 was the first-person perspective, with Rockstar remaking everything from the ground up in order to compensate for players' newfound ability to really scrutinize the world under a clear lens. Rockstar redid every single animation, with special attention being paid to weapons and the reloading. They made sure vehicles now had fully textured interiors with working speed dials and radios, and this perspective of Grand Theft Auto by itself really provided an entirely new experience. Grand Theft Auto was never as immersive as this version was because now you can view the world and your actions through your own protagonist's eyes, boosting Grand Theft Auto to a level never before experienced, and with how alive and detailed the sandboxes Rockstar already created, helped make this feel like a true next-gen level experience for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One era, separating itself from the predecessors. And if we look back at this first announcement trailer, there was some type of hope being held out that there was something as significant as a first-person perspective on the PlayStation 4 version, or maybe something even bigger, because now Rockstar had to make up for the extra time and console generation that Grand Theft Auto 5 lived through in order to justify the price tag. Enhanced and Expanded now really needed to be just that. Unfortunately, as we all know, that was not the case at all. Even after Rockstar delayed this version for almost a full year and a half, there was no additional content whatsoever. And when the official announcement trailer for it sharing their release date came out, the expanded and enhanced brand of this version was now completely removed. It was simply Grand Theft Auto 5 for the next generation of consoles, no longer claiming it was enhanced or expanded. The hope many had of getting a treat similar to the first-person perspective was completely gone. While we'll never really find out whether if Rockstar had plans to really follow through with the expanded and enhanced name that the game had, it's hard to accurately even say what the wait for the extra year was for this version, since it really doesn't add anything new outside the game running at a stable 60 FPS and some visual enhancements. Now don't get me wrong, the stable frame rate is impressive and very much appreciated. I'm just saying it's hard to justify the time period from the first teaser trailer to the announcement trailer, a time period of a full year and 2 months, with an additional 6 months between this trailer and the official launch date, which was March 15th, 2022. And if we're talking about a brand new game, you can argue that you got to be a little bit more lenient with that time frame. However, we're talking about a game that's been out for about 8 years at this point, and it was already upgraded for a previous console generation plus the PC port. All I'm saying is that entire time frame, almost 2 years, doesn't make that much sense until you take a step back and look at the entire time frame across Rockstar as a whole. And then you actually notice Rockstar's biggest fuck up happened right in the middle of these two dates. I'm not gonna trudge through the same bullshit that everyone else has already went over when it came to the GTA trilogy. Ultimately, in order for me to get my point across within this video, it's gonna boil down to two main points. The first one being, Rockstar completely disregarded their own legacy. A legacy that's rooted in nostalgia, as it's tied to a lot of people's childhoods. A legacy that's rooted in the gaming industry at large, pushing what an open world should really look like, pushing what the concept of an action-adventure game should really look like, and setting quote-unquote the golden standard for many games moving forward. I mean, the first point basically boils down to ultimately they just did not care enough. They couldn't be bothered to have individual artists go through each one of these games and put in the proper care and attention to detail like they demand, like a company should that even values their own history and the work that came from the artists before them. I mean, people that work at Rockstar now probably had nothing to do with any of these previous titles, and they could have paid some type of homage to that group of people that set the foundation of what Rockstar ultimately is these days. I don't want to go so far to be like, yeah, where you're at now was built off the backs of those that came before you, but ultimately it still boils down to that. They just didn't care. They didn't give enough of a fuck for people's childhoods, for that nostalgia, or even the artists that came before it. The second point being, ultimately, they just wanted their money to look right. They wanted that fiscal year to look nice, with the GTA trilogy releasing in November and then Grand Theft Auto 5 for the next generation of consoles releasing in March. Only 4 months separating those two. And Grand Theft Auto 5 by itself sells millions of copies, and Rockstar had to anticipate a decent to high number of sales. Hence why you could potentially throw in 3 games versus just 1 or even 2, because 3 ultimately looks better. And just seeing how they handled Grand Theft Auto 5 for the next generation of consoles, and then of course the GTA trilogy, it brings into question the quality of Grand Theft Auto 6 on some level. Because as I was saying at the beginning of the video, the incentive for Rockstar has completely changed. Grand Theft Auto 6 can completely dwarf anything that came before it, and can put everything after it to shame, similar to what Red Dead Redemption 2 does now. Grand Theft Auto 6 can be more than just a staple. If Rockstar really wanted it to be, they could, by all means, blow this game completely out of the water if they really wanted to. I mean, right now there's rumors going around that they're going to be incorporating AI into the NPCs, that way you get as much of a natural, lifelike reaction out of them as you possibly can. But obviously those are just rumors. However, if that is true, then that's that level of innovation that Rockstar games were previously known for that they can continue with. However, just a reflection of the GTA trilogy and even where they're going with GTA Online and GTA 5, they're really not committed to investing in themselves anymore. Speaking of GTA Online, I mean, look at all these trailers. Every single one is hit with a massive dislike to like ratio, and that is a mixture of Rockstar seemingly taking items out of the game and then putting them back in via an update and locking stuff that was previously accessible for everyone behind an additional paywall. Well, the catalyst seemed to be the remasters of GTA 5. The GTA trilogy exacerbated everything, exponentially creating this snowball effect, and it's like Rockstar continuously said, well, since you guys hate us anyway, you can eat shit. And of course this culminates in what happened recently. So just the other day, actually the beginning of this week, after many rumors circulating that Rockstar was remastering the original Red Dead Redemption and even working on GTA 4 behind the scenes, both of which later came out as being put on the back burner so that way Rockstar can move all of their resources to focus on GTA 6, quote unquote. Recently, the rumors of at least Red Dead Redemption being remastered for the next generation of consoles resurfaced because the game got a new rating in Korea, particularly for the PlayStation 4. With that leak, it obviously initiated the hype train yet again, because Red Dead Redemption is over 10 years old. The only way to really properly play the game is if you have it on Xbox, and then through Xbox's backwards compatibility, you can play it that way. Originally, it was also on PlayStation Plus's streaming service, and then it was removed, getting people even more excited that the possibility of Red Dead Redemption Remastered was a real thing. Well, fast forward to a couple days ago, earlier this week, Rockstar officially announced that it was true, seemingly. It's not an official remaster, but rather a port. A port specifically for the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4, meaning that PC can still not play this game. There was never ever an official release for PC, and obviously the only way to really properly play it on Xbox is still through backwards compatibility. And this port has a $50 buy-in price. So it's specifically only for 2 platforms. There was no visual upgrades, there's no boosted frame rate. At least I couldn't find anything in the details that said anything about that. There's no PC port, so their accessibility is still incredibly low by today's standards. So ultimately, just this port confirms the same thing that Rockstar showed with the GTA trilogy, and that's that they're not even willing to invest in themselves. If Red Dead Redemption got their remaster within Red Dead Redemption 2's graphic engine and got that level of upscaling, that level of detail, I guarantee you, even if they came out and said, hey, this is just going to be an exclusive for PlayStation 5 specifically, so they cut out PlayStation 4 entirely, so you're limiting a core audience. They could have used that as a tester. All right, let's see how much this game can really generate. We put in this much revenue, we put in this much time, effort, resources. We're obviously not going to get that much back. However, if it looks this good on just PlayStation, in 6 months to a year time, we can let it go to PC and even Xbox. Still a little scummy, but at least you're testing the water, and on some level you're giving the game the time, affection, love, and care that it properly deserves. And ultimately, that's all Rockstar has to do to flip this all around. If they came out and gave the trilogy the type of love, care, and affection that it properly deserves, trust me, I know a lot of people will be pissed off that they're gonna do that and remaster the game again. But for a lot of people, it at least shows the effort now, that they're willing to put in the time and the resources to make the games worth people's time and money. And that's all they really have to do, even with this Red Dead Redemption fiasco, as much of a slap in the face that it also is, because that's all it is. A lazy port, a lazy attempt to try to boost revenue sales, and I guarantee you they're still gonna probably sell decently well because it's Red Dead Redemption on PlayStation, which it's not even on the PS5, it's on the PS4. Another level of laziness, but that's all they gotta do. Go back into their catalog. They have some of the richest catalog of games in the gaming industry. They literally can zero in on any one of their games from the past and say, okay, we're going to invest as much time, resources, and energy into this old game to make it look like a next generation game. Hit that 60 FPS on modern consoles, throw in a little bit of ray tracing. We're not going to affect the story whatsoever. It's just going to be a graphic and frame rate boost across the board. If we got to make it from the ground up, sure, but let's not touch those audio files. Let's keep that story intact. I guarantee you, they will make all their money back. And it would be the first very critical step in gaining people's good graces back. If they were to do that with Grand Theft Auto 4 or even Bully, everything else won't be entirely forgiven, but without forgiving, quote unquote, or at least accepting, Rockstar fan base has become, I think it'd be a nice step in the right direction. But for the time being, the general consensus is Rockstar never fails to disappoint, so we'll see how that goes.